Thank you, Ilka. I'm Margaret Franklin, President and Chief Executive of CFA Institute, and it is my great pleasure and honor to be here with you today. This is actually the second time I've been here since I've been in this role. I came in 2019, 6 months before COVID hit. It was a wonderful introduction, and it is just my distinct pleasure to be back in this part of the world. I think of Turkey very much as the nexus point between North and South, East and West. And of course, we are at a time where not only are we carrying on with the work that we do in all parts of capital markets, finance, and investing, but more importantly, we are shaping the future. And I think about that specifically in this conference, and conferences, Ilka referred to our annual conference that we had in Chicago. These conferences, these gatherings provide the opportunity for you to exchange ideas, to develop your network, and think hard and long about the challenges that are facing us, both opportunities and risks for the industry. In a time that has so much at stake and so much at risk, your influence, your contribution, your thinking, your networks are critical to make sure that we do that well, because it is at a nexus point where capital deployed well can make all the difference, both here in Istanbul, in Turkey, in Central and Eastern Europe, and indeed the world. Done badly, it has enormous consequences for us. I'd like to thank you, Ilka, for putting together such a fabulous conference. I looked at the agenda, listening to Ilka describe the day. You are in for every topic covering that is of great importance to the industry right now. I've been in the business for about 35 years, and never in my career have I seen so much change, everything, everywhere, all at once. And let me just start with markets. Howard Marks, who many of you will know, again, like Warren Buffett, a legendary investor, is 75 years old. And I had the privilege of interviewing him, and what he said, Marg, nobody practicing today has real experience with sustained developed market inflation, higher interest rates, and the implications of that. You, of course, here, many of you have experience with inflation and higher interest rates. But the broad capital markets do not. We're dealing with demographics that will dramatically change the nature of our economies and the way that we allocate capital. We are going from institutional to individual investors, and this is speeding up. When I started in the business, almost all attention and all capital was in the hands of institutional investors. Ilka talked about a 20-year transfer from largely men to largely women managing wealth. It'll go from institutions to individuals, and even institutions that are handling, managing people's money will be very attentive to individuals. Technology affords us tokenization and digitalization of everything, which opens up myriad asset classes that hitherto were not available to the individual investor. And that does come with opportunities, but also incredible risk. And that is because we do have to operate ethically and with integrity. We have a social license as professionals in the business. We know that regulatory authorities and governments can remove that quite quickly. So we must think about our end clients and what they are trying to achieve, because of course they are handing over capital that they have saved for us to invest prudently within their objectives. We are in an accelerated time of deglobalization. So if you think about what made the last 30 years incredible from capital markets perspective, it was the perfect trifecta of declining interest rates, declining inflation, and growing GDP as a result of globalization. Think about the Berlin Wall comes down, we unleash tremendous talent, whether that be Asian labor costs come down or Central and Eastern European extraordinary sophisticated talent from the STEM sector. We're now in the exact opposite, at the inflection point of the exact opposite of that. And so we are really going to have to work hard to earn our keep and demonstrate our value and over the long term. I actually think that people who are in this room are in a unique position to be able to do that. I will say that I do have the privilege of meeting with charter holders all around the world. They are often in positions in government and regulatory authorities, and of course the industry and practitioners at large. And I do think they are a cut above. That critical early training from the CFA program provides a basis not only for technical competence and a qualification, but also for ethics and integrity embedded into everything. And it matters when people aren't watching the decisions you make. And each one of us has a responsibility to contribute to the integrity of the system, because it's the professionals, the individuals and institutions, and the institutions that define the industry. And so every one of you, I implore you to think nobly about the profession that you're in and about the utility and purpose that you provide for both individuals that you're serving and institutions. The other thing that is abundantly clear to me is the need for private capital. Private markets, when I started in the business, was of the domain of the most sophisticated investors, namely pension plans and sovereign wealth funds. It is right now at the cusp of being in the hands of the retail investor. And it comes at a time when the innovation and renovation of economies, particularly the digitalization of everything, will require significant capital. And that capital will come from private individuals. So our need and interconnectedness between the needs of societies, where the capital comes from, and how we as an industry deploy that capital will be crucial. And finally, I'd like to talk for a moment on AI. At CFA Institute, we are spending really a lot of time on AI, in addition to all the other things I've talked about. We're looking at it from how it impacts the industry itself, the workflows and work streams, and how to apply AI to make us better. We're in a time where all those questions that we used to ask in the investment decision-making process, we now have both the data to be able to ask them and the capability to incorporate them into our investment decision-making, whether it's at the security, portfolio, or at the individual to the investor level. I'm often asked, do I think AI will replace all of you in this room? And of course, that's one perspective. But if you asked me 24 months ago what I saw around the world, it was a real panic over the role of subject matter experts, investment professionals. And actually, 18 months ago, it became apparent that subject matter experts were actually the most critical players in the system. And why is that? Because they know the questions to ask. AI allows you to ask them to put all that data in, make sure you've got kind of a good system, and they're able to evaluate the output at the end. So in fact, the work you do has probably become much more interesting, more expansive through AI. But CFA Institute is committed deeply to making sure you're capable of doing that through our professional learning offerings, and making sure that we as an industry and as representing the investment industry are ensuring that it's done ethically and with integrity. So our research advocacy and standards is spending a tremendous amount of time on this, and I would encourage you to visit our website to see all the tools and research that is available for you as individuals, but also the way we are shaping and influencing the industry. Finally, I would like to say that in the last 8 weeks, I've been just about everywhere in the world. I've been to China. This is my second time here in Europe. Obviously, I'm spending a lot of time in the US. I was recently at the World Bank and IMF Spring Summits. These are what we call spicy, feisty times. Everything is being upended in ways that we couldn't imagine. But when I sit in those rooms and talk to both leaders and then those who are in sort of the operations of it, how are we going to implement this? I must admit that despite the challenges, I see determination, resilience, and incredible creativity. And so I think when the going gets tough, the tough really apply what they know. They connect with each other. They commit to outcomes that will serve better. I think you will always have to be alert to new skills, new emerging trends, new emerging asset classes and ways of doing things. And what I have great confidence in when I go around the world is that all of you are capable of doing that. And for the charter holders in this room, I stand proudly with all of you because I see the work that you do in all parts of the industry. I applaud your commitment and the resources and networks that you bring to making the system better. So with that, I'd very much like to thank you for having me here. I look forward to the agenda, and Asoy, over to you.